r/AskReddit. What's the fastest you've ever gone from caring about someone to straight up loathing them? One summer back in high school years, I had a crush on this girl and we'd hang out when we weren't working together. A friend of mine would keep insisting that I should just ask her out. So I mustered my courage and asked her out. Yeah, it was a glorious fail. I still remember when she smiled and told me the truth. That was when I found out that they had been secretly dating for a year and thought it would be a lark to just duck with me. 100-0 in a few words and a vicious smile. Like that. Except friend kept insisting that I lose my virginity to my boyfriend, who she was secretly ducking the entire time we dated, and they thought it would be funny if he took my V card. Friend at a bar tells some people we just met how her mother died. Later in the night I express my sympathy. Now she's without parents. She told me hush hush a few years prior about how father had passed. Wait, did I tell you back then my dad died? I thought I told you it was my mum. No. Both my parents are still alive. When we were in uni I just read in a book telling people a parent has died isn't a good way to get sympathy. Haha. Ducking sociopath. What an utter pose. Reminds me of a guy from my school who was in my acting class and he used to pretend to break down and cry, then when asked what was wrong would say my mom dad died, and after gathering a fair crowd he'd laugh it off and say it was a joke. Yeah man, hilarious. He did this multiple times with multiple groups of people. I loved, still love, playing Pokemon and I had no female friends with the same interest. Found out about this group of guys that played it after school. Got really excited and made plans with them. I waited for hours and they never showed up. Next day I overhear my best childhood friend laughing about how annoying I was and that they had to hide from me to play in peace. That really hurt. 1 year friendship with this girl. I invited her over to my new apartment. She came over and wanted to gossip about her co-workers. When she paused, I tried to add into the conversation, make a joke, give reassurance, add a comment, etc. But she would immediately raise her voice and start talking over me. I kept getting angrier every time it happened until I was actually loathing her internally. She was so self-absorbed that she didn't notice I went from smiling and engaged to frowning while staring off into space. After 2+ hours of not being allowed to talk, I made up an excuse to kick her out of the apartment and then vowed to never see her again. Sounds like one of my current friends. Only has time to talk about herself. Doesn't care for my opinions unless it somehow contains her. Only asks about my life after she's run out of things to complain about. I was doing online dating which really sucked, but I met a guy that I really liked. I was cautious and tried to be careful and take it slow. We dated for a few months. No sex. Lots of making out, but as yet no sex. I finally felt safe enough to start thinking about sex with him. He was very good to me and I felt like we could be a good fit. So, one day he asks me to take the afternoon off and meet him for lunch. Fun, I say. So we have a lovely lunch and he asks if I'd like to get a hotel room. I was caught quite off guard by this, but eventually agreed to it. We hope to the room and things progress nicely. He's very sweet, gentle and loving. I felt very happy. We start having sex and he's on top. He starts talking to me saying how this is going to be the best revenge on his girlfriend. WTF. I froze up. I literally froze. I couldn't move or respond or anything. I know I should have just thrown his ass to the floor, but I was just numb. He finished his business, used a condom, thank God. We got dressed and left. Never spoke to him again. A former friend bailed on me when we were supposed to hang out, and so I called my then girlfriend to see what she was doing and I could hear him talking to her parents in the background. Having your friend bang your girlfriend and her parents? That's rough. Damn. Sorry man. It's in the past, but it wasn't the only time something like that happened to me. I have some pretty serious trust issues that I am actively working on. It seems to be going well so far. As fast as it took for his wife to call me at work to tell me that he was not only married, but had 3 children including a newborn. That is brutal. Sorry. This was when I was still in my teens many decades ago. It broke my heart until he started stalking me. My hurt turned to hate quite quickly. You're better than my cousin. At least. She was divorced, in her 40s, when she met a man at work and started sleeping with him. His wife gave birth to his kid. He had 2 older kids too, and my cousin was still sleeping with him. Then he got divorced and my cousin married him and he's a great guy. Yep, sure he is. He only cheated in his pregnant wife and then left her, a newborn and 2 older kids high and dry. But yes, he's totally a great guy. My father abandoned me and my ill mother. He just ran away. I am a single child, so I had to take care of her on my own. It was hard. I loathed him. Hated him. I no longer hate him. Just forget about him. Hating someone for too long takes a heavy toll. I am grateful to have had the chance to take care of my mother and help her get well. Damn. This hits hard. I am glad you dealt with it. Grew up good despite being treated evilly. My childhood friend, he lived pretty close to me and seemed like a nice dude until he stole my GoldenEye and moved to Minnesota. Duck you, Derek. Was at my wife's family Christmas gift exchange. My wife is estranged from her direct family, so this was all of the uncles, aunties and cousins. There were multiple nieces and nephews running around having a good time. We all agreed to a white elephant exchange for the adults so we didn't have to buy a lot of gifts. We did that the night before and did the gifts for the kids in their morning. Morning rolls around and all the kids are opening gifts, except my son. None of those entitled asshats got him anything. He sat there and watched everyone else open multiple gifts and it broke my heart to see him sitting there with nothing. Duck those people right up their stupid a-holes. My mother fought cancer for 5 years. My father let my sister and I do 95% of the work caregiving, and after her death expected us to step into her place and take care of him. The man I used to love and respect is gone and I can't stand to be around him anymore. There can be some serious burnout after the death of a loved one for whom you are a caregiver. Please take care of yourself. When my grandfather screamed at my mother that she had ruined his life by being born. Never spoke to him again after that. Damn. And my grandpa told my uncle that he was praying for hardship to enter his life so he could get closer to God. My uncle is probably going to have open heart surgery soon. So you know, awesome dad. When he started being condescending to me in almost every conversation we have, in about almost every topic we talked about, then him complaining to me that some people can't handle him having such strong opinions on topics he is passionate about. My husband adopted my son when he was 3 after being in his life since he was 1. Gave him his last name, the whole 9 yards. When we had a child of our own, who was a girl, and decided we were done having kids, his mother said to me it's a shame we aren't having more kids, as she would have liked someone to carry on the family name. I have only tolerated her at holidays ever since. Whoa, I remember as a kid seeing my name in light pencil on a very stylized family tree. My aunt was written in calligraphy and my mother was totally missing. My mother was adopted before my aunt was born. East Coast WASP family. Had a male bestie for more than 10 years. One night I was upset and crying cause I witnessed my friends die at the beach a few weeks earlier. He stays over to comfort me and suggests he sleep over so I wouldn't be alone. He promised he wouldn't do anything. I believed him. So he held me while I cried myself to sleep. I wake up to him fingering me. Without my consent obviously. I lost my mind and told him off and kicked him out my house. He came back a few days later to apologize, but I was so disgusted with him I told him to duck off and never talk to me again. I blocked him. I felt so disgusted and betrayed. Had a really great friend in high school. He was cool, but he's always been trying to sell stuff to people in the hallways, like video games or pocket knives or sunglasses. After over a year of being friends with him, he came over to my house to hang out, and when he left a bunch of my favorite video games were missing. I realized what was happening, and I had plans on forgiving him if he just fessed up and apologized. Instead he got super defensive and angry, and I instantly lost any respect I had for the guy. I let one of my friends borrow some PS4 games and a controller. The 3 games were $60 each and the controller was $65. He only asked to borrow them for a few days, as he only had access to a PS4 for that time. A few weeks go by and I've forgotten about the games, but when I did finally ask, he just never replied. 2 years later, one of our mutual friends informed me that he sold them for weed money. In April I went on my yearly 3-day trip with my mom to Las Vegas. In that time, my ex moved out of my apartment. I found out because the landlord called, concerned I was moving. I knew nothing about it. I then called my ex to ask what on earth was going on, and she didn't pick up. She left furniture that I am still trying to get her to take, and took shit of mine that she won't give back. Now I'm stuck in an apartment I can barely afford, struggling to survive. I can't move because my rent is cheaper than anything else in my city. It's been tough. Really made me lose all respect for her.